Greetings, I'm Mark with Unlimited Story, a channel dedicated to writing, world building, marketing, and most importantly, getting things done. If that's interesting to you, consider subscribing or at least, checking out our website, unlimited-story.com. In this video, I'm going to be covering the sacred timeline / multiverse. I'm not going to be breaking it down per the comics. I'm going to be talking about it from a story building / world building perspective. So if that's why you're here, just sit tight because we're going to do that like right now. And welcome back. So in this video, I'm going to cover the sacred timeline / multiverse. That's basically a giant comp out by Disney Marvel to make money because they're a business and that's what they like to do. So the first thing I want to point out is that the sacred timeline has these red lines on the top and bottom. And I find that very, very interesting because it means there's a little bit of wiggle room. By wiggle room, I am absolutely certain that means, hey, the Avengers are allowed to do whatever they want. Thanos is allowed to do whatever he wants. Loki somehow got outside the red lines. Basically, what that is to me is saying, hey, we can do whatever we want. They're not putting in set parameters. And, here's the thing. Disney Marvel is a business. They are trying to make stories that will, bring in money. Okay? Don't get me wrong. Money is how this business works. What is really, really interesting is they're trying to bring in all these components, right? We know the multiverse movie is coming out. We know Spider-Man is getting involved with all the other versions of Spider-Man that have been made. So they're trying to do too much. And from a world building / storytelling perspective, it's forced. It's very clear because this is a business move in a storytelling environment. So the business is telling the story what's going to happen. The story isn't driving itself anymore. And that's really disappointing because that's when you get this. It's when content just starts going downhill. You're not making it for character progression. You're not making it for the audience. You are making it because you want to make money, and that becomes very, very clear. A perfect example, Star Wars. They didn't make the Star Wars movies because, hey, we have a great Star Wars story that we share that, hey, our audience will really enjoy. They made these Star Wars movies with the intent of saying, hey, we want to make as much money as possible. What is going to sell well in the box office? And these focus groups, the focus group mentality is that's not what creates good content. Okay, it makes money, yes, but it could even do better and make more money if they just were thinking about story first. So whatever the case, the multiverse is this forced content. So you can basically just take the idea of 3 space lizards like making decisions for the universe and just replace them with Disney Marvel. You can just call them Disney Marvel because they're the ones deciding like, hey, this is what we tolerate, this is acceptable, and this is not acceptable. Because the rules that Loki broke could easily be fixed. And in many ways, if they are looking at this sacred timeline and they are all knowing, why can't they be preventative? Okay? Or if they wanted to fix something, why can't they address it right away? Specifically, like Loki. Okay, Loki, got the Tesseract, poured it out. Within a minute, they were there and addressing the issue. Okay, if there are all these things happening that they want to take care of, they're worried about Nexus events, which the Scarlet Witch is a Nexus level being, why don't they just kill her? Or is that against their sacred timeline? If their sacred timeline is their own discretion, then why don't they just do whatever they want? They are, as Loki is kind of noticing throughout his story, the ultimate power in the universe. They control things that they can nullify magic. They basically just turn Infinity Stones into paperweights, which is very comical. So I'm really interested to see why logic isn't working, because in writing and world building, your characters aren't stupid. Okay, they just don't overlook their own powers. Okay, they know what they can do. So there has to be a reason why. To be perfectly honest, I think that this whole multiverse thing is a bad idea. It's going to be the death blow that puts the end to the entire MCU franchise for Marvel / Disney. I just don't see how they're going to be able to fix things after this, because, okay, so you're going to start making all this content and, again, it could get really confusing. But where do you go from there? You have stuff branching out too far. It's not going to be as much about the characters. There's less individual development happening. It's all about this, the chaos that's going on in this world, when stories are supposed to be about people. That is the primary goal. It needs to be about the adventures and changes in people. There needs to be character moments that need to happen. But how can you really do that when you have so much happening? And the only way I can imagine them fixing it is, okay, there's this big multiverse of madness type stuff happening, and then eventually they're going to have to bring it back to this sacred timeline. And I just don't know how they're planning on doing any of this stuff. It looks like a gigantic mess. And again, this is a business move. It's not a storytelling thing. Time travel has been done poorly in so many situations that whenever I see it occurring in a movie that is not exclusively focused on time travel, so something like Minority Report, where it is like focused, like this is about time travel, as opposed to adding time travel to something that doesn't really necessarily need it. Shows that are specifically based on time travel, those turn out well. That's their goal. That is their purpose, and they have rules in place. There are very few shows, and the only one that I can actually think of that does this kind of stuff well is like Dragon Ball Z, where time travel was brought in for a specific reason. Trunks traveled back in time to fix some stuff or warn. Okay, that worked. And then how much more time travel did they do after that? Zippo. Like, they didn't need it. They needed to address a certain thing. But when you start adding time travel and these ambiguous rules, it can really start destroying your world. And you leave yourself way too open to criticism by people like me. Like, there's just way too many opportunities for people to watch it and be like, this doesn't even make sense. Why did you do this? Like, is this really necessary? But again, I'm going to just repeat what I've said multiple times in this video. This is not a story writing, this wasn't done for story writing. It was done as a business move to make money because they're a corporation and they want to do something. So here we go. Enjoy probably the killing blow to the MCU, which I have thoroughly enjoyed for the last 10 years. And good times. And that's it for this video. I'm sorry to be a Debbie Downer, but that's really my thoughts about this whole MCU and the whole multiverse thing. It's already just looking pretty bad. So anyway, if you like this video or like stuff like it, just subscribe and watch another one of my videos that YouTube recommends. Thank you so much. Peace.